Okay, we're back here at Oakys Garage. This is part 2 of the assembly of the Honda CB92e/R. And I got quite a bit of this put together. And got the shocks all put on. A little chrome trim that goes in the back. These were all chromed out. And the bolts were all chromed out. That somebody had them all. They were still strung together from bringing them to the chrome shop, and so a lot of these pieces were nicely chromed and assembled this today. The wheels are DID wheels. I imagine that that's what Honda put on them back then. Honda made good products back then, and obviously they still do. So I got all the swing arm and everything put on. Got the brake assembly all figured out and put together. And one of the things that was kind of confusing when I went to put the foot pegs on is, if you notice the angle of this being worn out. Now if you look at the other side, you'll see that you know, it's worn normally if you're scraping the pegs. Now obviously whoever was riding this around really knew how to ride, because to wear out pegs that are up that high on a bike this small with tires that small, they're pretty amazing. So somebody who was road racing this or really knew how to ride it around, because it's amazing that they could scrape the pegs at all. But as I kept looking at this one, and this is the first one I put on, I'm like, how, you know, that the angle's wrong. So I finally figured out that somebody must have actually broke this peg right off, and then when they welded it back on, they did a pretty good job, because you can barely tell that it's welded. But when they welded it back on, they didn't take into consideration that that thing should have been spun a little bit, and to put it back in that angle again. So that's why that's a weird angle sitting there. But anyway, we got quite a few of the parts put on, threw the tail light on. I still got to run the wiring all through the body. All the wiring in this bike goes in the inside of the stamped steel frame that was very unique to Hondas. And so we got a lot of this assembled. I got the steering stem put together, and but I didn't put the races in far enough. I got to pop that back apart and knock the race in farther, because you can see there's about 12 millimeter gap, 13 millimeter gap there, and the steering stops aren't lined up. That's why I got a rag on here, so that the front end doesn't go over and whack on the frame and chip the paint. But as far as putting this together, I had to figure it all out. So we ended up going on online and finding a parts catalog, and I made this booklet up to house all my notes, which are pretty much a lot of pictures. I had to really go by, you know, pictures that have been published on the internet on different Honda sites and stuff of people who have Hondas. But this is how I pretty much figured out where all the pieces go. Like in the front end, now that was pretty much the only way of figuring out where how the brake goes together in the front and all that kind of stuff. So these are, you know, different pictures of people's bikes, and there's some receipts, and this is the parts catalog for the bike, which is second edition from March 1974. But this has the all the assembly of everything, complete parts breakdown for where everything goes. And this has been extremely helpful of figuring out what every nut and bolt on the bike is. So and as you can see, that there's the Bentley tank, there's the road racing style tank. Actually, this is the correct cap. I don't really have the correct cap. I ended up buying a regular cap for a CB that they used for years. But like I was saying before, is that it's actually an R model, I believe. And what makes it an R model is that they had racing kits for the CB92, which consisted of high compression pistons and rings. They actually took the starter out to get rid of that drag and weight. They would change the gearing of the sprockets. They would jet the carburetors different. They would put a tachometer on the gearbox, which I'll show you later on, that is on the engine, but it's just capped off. The exhaust was a little bit different. The exhaust we're putting on doesn't exactly look like that, but I believe it is the racing exhaust that we're putting on it. And there's the seat. That's one of the very distinguishing things that makes the bike an R model, is that road racing seat. And the low handlebars, which we have. So that's what I'm saying about the R model, that they did sell, some of the bikes came through with all this stuff put on it, and you could also buy the parts as afterthought. And they didn't sell a lot of these because there's not a lot of them around, and a lot of them end up being racers. But we're going to keep assembling this today, and we're going to get back to you when I got a lot more done and check in with you. I hope you enjoy this video.